We all know how valuable a good coach can be. A voice when the players need it, and the architect behind the plays. NHL bench bosses are crucial to team success. But when the relationships go sour with players, well, it's not always a bed of roses. In this video, I'm going to continue what I started and dive into some more rifts between players and coaches. And with that, here's 4 more NHL players that hated their coaches. As we finally put the D'Angelo drama behind us, I thought it was time to bring up another recent feud that was pretty hard to miss. The one between former Blue Jacket PierreLuc Dubois and current CBJ head coach John Tortorella. Most of us can recall the episode between player and coach that transpired during last postseason. While both, looking back, similarly to the Malkin Kessel bench drama, is rather comical viewing it today. But now that this ship has sailed and the dirty laundry has been aired, one question is unavoidable here. Was this a sign of things beginning to go awry between them? As the upcoming 2021 season was on the horizon, Dubois, who had just signed a fresh extension with Columbus, came into training camp not holding back on his intention, on taking the contract and running somewhere else upon a trade. And one member of the organization who, uncharacteristically, opened up about the forward's trade was Tortorella. Yeah, he wants out, the head coach told a local radio station. I wish he was just a little bit more honest as far as reasons why. I still haven't really gotten to that, but I think he needs to speak on that. I won't. He has had a good camp, but it's a short leash with me, as far as I'm concerned, he says. And Torts was not lying, as the coach was routinely benching his star player upon the 2021 season commencing. But after Dubois decided to make a spectacle of himself on ice against the Tampa Bay Lightning, well, he finally got his wish and was traded to Winnipeg. While some have suggested that the desire to move on sparked from contract negotiations, Jackets GM Jarmo Kekalainen quickly cleared up the speculation by saying, "I wish that Pierre-Luc would tell the truth about why he wanted out," Kekalainen told TSN. "He hasn't even told me. He hasn't told his teammates or anybody else. It certainly wasn't about contract negotiations, I can assure you of that," he says. Finally, after Dubois' agent reportedly chastised the coach for having loose lips about his former players' woes, Tortorella still had no regrets while saying, "There is a certain standard that we want here, and that we all live by. If somebody doesn't want to be here, well, that's a hard thing for me to stomach. Well, my back goes up a little bit," he says. While the norm anymore, for retired hockey players anyways, seems to be writing their own book about their NHL journeys, former forward Danny Briere unearthed some real distaste for coach Michel Therrien in his, which indicated during his time playing for Therrien in Quebec, Briere wasn't exactly the coach's favorite player around, and recanted various unpleasant interactions with the Habs coach at the time, while saying, "When I entered the room, Therrien started showing me some game sequences. He ended his intervention by saying, 'There's no one in the room that respects you. Nobody wants to play with you.' It was incredibly nasty," Briere recalls. Therrien, during his tenure with the team, quickly developed a reputation for not allowing his more skilled and star players to thrive offensively. Sound familiar? By the time Briere had arrived to the team, he was past his prime and on the decline. There's no getting around that fact. Regardless, the forward was demoted to the 4th line and benched several times, even when the Canadiens were struggling to score goals. Briere detailed further that the singling out didn't just happen during actual games, but practice as well, as he indicated that out of 13 skaters on the team participating at the time in a practice shootout, only he and enforcer George Larocque were made to sit out. The message was very clear in my opinion. I wasn't welcome, Briere says. Most of us are aware of the fact that during his long tenure in San Jose as a Shark, Joe Thornton was stripped of his captaincy, a decision that was ultimately made collectively by the Sharks organization. And while Patrick Marleau tended to be more soft-spoken towards management after his seat was taken, Thornton was a completely different story. As a former captain, not only sounded off on GM Doug Wilson while saying point blank, "I think Doug needs to shut his mouth." Thornton says, "I think that's the bottom line. I haven't taken a sabbatical. He needs to just stop lying and shut his mouth." So, as head coach at the time, Todd McClellan was planning to take his own leave of absence from the team. Thornton directed another verbal jab, this time the coach's way, as well, while saying, "Todd has to talk to his family. Maybe he should talk to this family as well in here." And just in case you were questioning the state of the team around 2015, well, these comments that were said by Logan Couture, who now bears the C for the club right now, had this to say about the state of the culture of the organization at the time while saying, "It's not great." I know, it's Torts again. While I find the guy flat out comical myself and entertaining, you have to admit, he he can be polarizing at times. And another polarizing figure during his tenure in the Big Apple didn't exactly gel with his coach at the time. Surprise, I know. As I said, retired hockey players hang up the skates and write books. This we know. But until Avery's memoir graced the bookshelves, the extent of the dysfunction between player and coach was relatively unknown. The former Ranger told the late Larry King during an interview, "I thought Tortorella was insecure. I never liked coaches who tried to police a dressing room. You've got 23 men that police themselves," he says. And Tortorella's favorite NYC reporter, Larry Brooks, also questioned the previous best about his thoughts after Tortorella departed from the Rangers organization. "Oh, I had a huge smile on my face, no doubt about it," Avery says. "It's not that I'm happy for myself, I'm happy for the Rangers and Rangers fans," he says.
You're very honest in the book about a lot of the things you went through with him, the beginning, the end, what it was like to play for him. Do you think your issues with him were widespread amongst your teammates and the guys that you talk to across the league? Obviously, he's coached national teams as well. A lot of people know about his reputation. Were they widespread or were they personal for you?
A little bit of both. I mean, personal, I was affected by it on a daily basis. I think anyone that covered the Rangers when he was coaching, for the most part, I haven't heard anyone say that they like him. I mean, I heard a story this morning about how he used to kick reporters out of the press conference if their phone rang. You know, that's sort of the mentality that he carried throughout the organization, certainly with us.